Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe everyone. I hope all of you are doing well. Today I'm back with a new shloka which we are going to discuss, which is shloka number 40. Last we had discussed shloka number 39 and we had discussed how Arjun was feeling extremely confused if it is going to be a right decision to kill the elderly of the house, because the whole foundation of traditions depends on the elderly people in the house. So now, in the next shloka, it is described how it depends on the elderly people of the house and how the whole structure of Grihastha ashram exists. Shloka 40 goes like, अधर्माभिववत् कृष्णः प्रदोष्यन्ति कुलस्त्रियः स्त्रीषु दुष्टाशु वर्णेष्या जयते वर्णशङ्करः. Which means, हे कृष्ण, जब कुल में अधर्म प्रमुख हो जाता है तो कुल की स्त्रियां दूषित हो जाती हैं और स्त्रीत्व के पतन से ही वृषिवंशी अवांछित संतानें उत्पन्न होती हैं. जीवन में शांति, सुख तथा आध्यात्मिक उन्नति का मुख्य सिद्धांत मानव समाज में अच्छी संतान का होना है. वर्णाश्रम धर्म के नियम इस प्रकार बनाए गए हैं कि राज्य तथा जाति की आध्यात्मिक उन्नति के लिए समाज में अच्छी संतान उत्पन्न हो. ऐसी संतान समाज में स्त्री के सतीत्व और उसकी निष्ठा पर निर्भर करती है. जिस प्रकार बालक सरलता से कुमार्गगामी बन जाते हैं, उसी प्रकार स्त्रियां भी पतनोन्मुखी होती हैं. अतः बालकों तथा स्त्रियों दोनों को ही समाज के वयोवृद्धों का संरक्षण आवश्यक है. स्त्रियां विभिन्न धार्मिक प्रथाओं में संलग्न रहने पर व्यभिचारिणी नहीं होंगी. चाणक्य पंडित के अनुसार सामान्यतः स्त्रियां अधिक बुद्धिमान नहीं होती, अतः वे विश्वसनीय नहीं हैं. इसलिए उन्हें विविध कुल परंपराओं में व्यस्त रहना चाहिए और इस तरह उनके सतीत्व तथा अनुरक्ति से ऐसी संतान जन्मेगी जो वर्णाश्रम धर्म में भाग लेने के योग्य होगी. ऐसे वर्णाश्रम धर्म में विनाश से यह स्वाभाविक है कि स्त्रियां स्वतंत्रता पूर्वक पुरुषों से मिल सकेंगी और व्यभिचार को प्रश्रय मिलेगा, जिससे अवांछित संतानें उत्पन्न होंगी. निठल्ले लोग भी समाज में व्यभिचार को प्रेरित करते हैं और इस तरह अवांछित बच्चों की बाढ़ आ जाती है, जिसमें मानव जाति पर युद्ध और महामारी का संकट छा जाता है. So here it has been discussed. This shloka is something that I personally find very much more like a half truth, because the Bhagavad Gita was passed down to Arjuna and it was 5,000 years ago or 5,500 years ago. And over the period of time, there has been a lot of changes. There has been a lot of translation. So it does not look highly the words of Sri Krishna. Because if you know about Shiv and Shakti and the energy of Shiv and Shakti, it is always assumed that Shakti is in a higher place than Shiv, not in terms of power, but in terms of what she creates. For example, that is why you'd see that there is a lot of respect of the creative power, that is the feminine energy, that is the Shakti energy. It can so happen that if people have translated this, their personal biasness and all of that can also be included, or maybe during the colonial times and also during the Mughal era, when a lot of things were changing, specifically the information in the books were corrupted regularly. It can also happen that certain things have been corrupted. Even the same goes with Manusmriti. The actual Manusmriti is not the Manusmriti that we have today. So, right now, in the shloka, it has been only talked about women, but actually, if you see, there are two aspects, right? The masculine energy and the feminine energy, where women is supposed to multiply and create, men are supposed to lead and to set an example and also to protect and provide. Whereas, if and it's a two-way street, right? Earlier, if there was an irreligion, irreligion as in any sort of action that is against the dharma, basically any adharmic acts. If there were any adharmic acts in the society which were prominent in any family, the members would get corrupt. I am trying to put this aside just on women, because it is not just based on women and the owners. So yes, it's everyone's responsibility. Although yes, the major part of the household, there are certain aspects that depends on a woman, and then there are certain aspects that depends on a man. So here the members get corrupted, and then the degradation of humanity occurs, not just womanhood, where unwanted progeny can come ahead. Now, for example, men and women both have to be in a place where their mind is engaged in Krishna consciousness and in the devotion of Sri Krishna or any God in any possible name, whatever anyone wants to follow. When they are following a particular God, the important part is both men and women have to be chaste and faithful, which requires a direction from the elderly in the house. And that elderly consists of both men and women. So that gives birth to the right progeny. And now the progeny's value system are based on three major people in the progeny's life. The first one is mother, the second one is father, and the third one is guru. And the sort of values, lessons, learnings, and surrounding the child grows up with. Then comes the fact that there is peace, prosperity, and spiritual progress, because most of the responsibility of spiritual progress was somewhat given to women, in terms that women can easily grow in terms of their spiritual life as compared to men, because of the creative force that they have within them. That is why they are more in tune and aligned with the universe, and hence the intuition power is actually very, very strong. So as compared to men's logic, women's intuition is something very, very strong. So what happens is, in Varnashrama ashram, the good values were instilled in children from childhood. How? By portraying that as an individual. For example, if you yourself are somebody who follow honesty and are someone who respect everybody else and follow the dharmic traditions and values, your child will look at you and they will learn more and they will grow up to become more like you. So, leading with example is something that is an extremely important aspect in Varnashrama ashram. So, that is why it has been consistently said that of the onus of trying to direct and guide is actually more dependent upon men as compared to women. Women can guide in terms of spiritual way. Women can also create in terms of spiritual way, where women bring the masculine energy closer to God. That is what a woman does. And hence, when a man is trying to lead in material life and provide for the woman in his life, the woman is trying to lead in the spiritual life and trying to bring the man closer to God. And this is how, like, a marriage used to work. And most of the Sanatan marriages work this way, where both aspects of life are covered instead of just a single aspect, which is the material world. So knowing that it is all Maya, and after a point of time it is going to get destroyed. So not being too attached to it can only happen if the woman in the house is closely related and is closely devoted to God. If she is devoted to God, she is going to pass down the same sort of values and learning in her kids and also to her husband. So this is an important aspect of how family traditions work and how that builds the mindset and value system of a whole society and the young generation coming ahead. Alright, I hope all of you had a good learning today. Tomorrow we are going to do shloka number 41, where we are going to learn further as to what happens next. Until then, take care of yourself, keep learning. Like, share and subscribe to my channel. Share it with your loved ones. Make sure that they're learning as well. And till then, take care of yourself. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe.